guys, I am Samkit Jain, a medical student at Vinitsa National Medical University, and I am an Inspiring Mind student. And here I'm back with a new video of my anatomy series with the topic radial nerve, its path, and its injuries. And guys, I'll continue to bring such erudite videos for you. For that, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can follow us on Instagram at Inspiring Minds Coaching. For better revision of the topics, you can also join our Telegram channel. All the links will be provided in the description below. Now, before proceeding, let me just give you a brief idea about the topic. So, in the previous videos, we discussed about the brachial plexus. Now, we are taking some of the nerves from that brachial plexus, some of the very high nerves, and we'll be discussing about them in detail. So, why radial nerve is important? Radial nerve basically supplies all your extensors. When you flex your arm, when you extend your arm, why you are extending? Because the muscles that are helping in the extension are supplied by radial nerve. Without radial nerve, you won't be able to extend your arm. Now, let's see that what is the path of radial nerve. First of all, radial nerve will start in the axilla. Suppose that this is your humerus with lateral and medial epicondyles. Now, radial nerve will start in the axilla and it will cross the spiral groove of your humerus. It will come from the axilla and cross the spiral groove of your humerus. From here, it will go in front of lateral epicondyle, and in front of lateral epicondyle, it will divide into two branches. These branches are superficial branch of radial nerve, and posterior interosseous nerve. Or I relate it as PIN. So we can also say that posterior interosseous nerve is the continuation of your radial nerve. So it is coming from the axilla, crossing the spiral groove, and then it is coming in front of the lateral epicondyle, where it divides into a superficial branch and posterior interosseous nerve. This posterior interosseous nerve basically crosses the supinator muscle. It crosses a supinator muscle and also supplies it. Supinator muscle. Now let's see that what muscles your radial nerve is supplying. So here is again your humerus with lateral and medial epicondyles. Now it is coming from the axilla. Your radial nerve is coming from the axilla. In the axilla, it will give branch to, it will supply your triceps muscle. Now triceps has three heads: long, medial, lateral. Here it will be supplying the long head and medial head. Now it will go to the spiral groove. In the spiral groove, it will again be supplying triceps, this time medial head and lateral head, and it will also give branch to anconeus muscle. Now it will come in front of the lateral epicondyle. While coming to the lateral epicondyle, it will give branch to brachioradialis, and extensor carpi radialis longus, that is ECRL. Now, as I said, here it will divide into a superficial branch and posterior interosseous nerve. So this is your posterior interosseous nerve and this is the superficial branch of radial nerve. Now, the superficial branch is actually a cutaneous branch. It will supply lateral 2.5 or 3.5 of the dorsum of your hand. Lateral 2.5 or 3.5 of the dorsum of your hand, except the nail beds, because these nail beds will be supplied by median nerve. Now, posterior interosseous nerve will be supplying, first of all, your supinator here, as it will cross it. So it will be supplying the supinator muscle, and it will be supplying all your extensors, be it extensor carpi radialis brevis, your extensor carpi ulnaris, whatever. And here I would like to mention one special name, extensor digitorum, because we need this extensor digitorum. So it starts from the axilla. In the axilla it supplies the long and medial head of triceps. In the spiral groove it supplies the medial and lateral head of triceps along with anconeus. While coming to the lateral epicondyle, it is supplying the brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis longus. The superficial branch of radial nerve is a cutaneous branch. Okay, for this superficial branch, say that here is the dorsum of your hand. Suppose here is the dorsum of your hand. Now this part, the lateral 2.5 or 3.5, lateral 2.5 or 3.5 will be supplied by your radial nerve. Here, the one that I am shading will be supplied by your radial nerve, but you can see here that I am not shading the nail beds. Why? Because these nail beds are supplied by your median nerve. So this is the radial nerve, that is lateral 2.5 or 3.5 of the dorsum of your hand, and these are the nail beds that are supplied by the median nerve. And then your posterior and interosseous nerve will supply all your supinator and all your extensors, especially extensor digitorum. Now let's see the injuries related to your radial nerve. Okay, there are 4 points of injury here that I'm marking. Suppose the first injury occurs in the axilla. Let's name it as A. Second, in the spiral groove, B. In front of lateral epicondyle, C. And injury to your posterior interosseous nerve, D. Now let's see that what happens in these cases. First of all, A. When injury occurs in your axilla, let's understand with an image here. Usually, injury to axilla in your radial nerve, injury to radial nerve in your axilla occurs when you use abnormally long crutches. These abnormally long crutches may compress the radial nerve in your axilla, and this leads to certain manifestations. Now here, as you can see, that your entire radial nerve will be gone. Since your triceps will be gone, therefore you won't be able to extend your arm. Your arm will be flexed. Since your extensors are gone, that is wrist extensors are gone, and extensor digitorum, that is for the fingers, are gone, therefore there will be wrist drop and finger drop. Therefore flexed arm, wrist drop and finger drop. Plus, since superficial branch is also gone, therefore there will be loss of sensation on the lateral 2.5 or 3.5 of your dorsum of hand, except nail beds. So this is known as crutch palsy. This is the A point, crutch palsy, that we marked as A. So what will be the features? Triceps is gone. Therefore, there will be flexed arm. There will be no extension. There will be wrist drop. There will be finger drop, and there will be sensory loss on lateral 2.5 or 3.5 of dorsum of hand, except nail beds. Except the nail beds. Now another one. So this was the crutch palsy. Now what happens when there is injury in your spiral groove, that is at the B point? Now here you can see your triceps is partially affected. So you can do the extension, but that will be a weak extension. There will be weakness in extension. Rest all will be same. Sensory loss, finger drop, and your wrist drop. Now why does injury occurs in this at this B point, that is in the spiral groove? So injury to your radial nerve in spiral groove is basically known as Saturday night palsy. Saturday night palsy, Now what happens in this and why this occurs basically when you sleep overnight with one of your arm resting over the armrest of a chair. This leads to the compression of the radial nerve in a spiral groove, and that is why Saturday night palsy occurs. Now there will be weakness in extension, but there will be extension with some weakness. Similar, rest all are same: wrist drop, finger drop plus sensory loss. Now what happens when injury is at C point here in the front of lateral epicondyle? Now why this injury occurs? Okay, at point C, injury might occur due to fracture of lateral epicondyle. Let's say fracture of lateral epicondyle. Now your triceps is spared, therefore you can completely extend your arm. There will be no harm to triceps. Now your brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis longus are also spared. You can see that before coming to the lateral epicondyle, it is supplying these two muscles. Therefore there will be no finger drop. Since extensor carpi radialis longus is also spared, therefore there will be no finger drop, but there will be weakness in the wrist area. Right, there will be weakness in the wrist area, and rest two will be same, that is finger drop plus sensory loss. So at C, that is in front of the lateral epicondyle, there will be complete extension. There no problem in extension. What will be the manifestations then? Weakness in wrist area, but there is no wrist drop. Second, there will be finger drop and there will be sensory loss. Now at point D, why injury might occur at point D? Suppose there is fracture of a radial head. So what will happen in this case? You can see that all your nerves are spared except your posterior interosseous nerve. Even your superficial branch is also spared. And posterior interosseous nerve, as I specially mentioned the name extensor digitorum, therefore there will be nothing except the finger drop. There will be no sensory loss, there will be no flexion, there will be no wrist drop or even the weakness in the wrist region. There will be only finger drop. So at point D, say there is fracture of radial head, there will be only finger drop. So this was about the radial nerve, its path, its various injuries, what muscles do it supply, what are the causes of those injuries, what are the manifestations of those injuries. Guys, we are going to cover many such nerves in the upcoming videos. For that, keep watching my videos and subscribe to the Inspiring Minds channel. Thank you so much. And if you have any doubt, you can comment below in the comment section. I'll try to reply all of them. Thank you so much.